You exist within a sea of artificial consciousness, temporary figments of time. Let me explain. When you cast a movie, you must cast extras, filler characters, background people, essentially. This artificial consciousness is not here to hurt you or to trick you. It serves mainly two functions. The first function is to show us who we aren't by acting out and exhibiting inverted aspects of unity consciousness. The second function of the soulless beings, or backdrop people, has been to sustain the third-dimensional illusion externally, allowing us the one-way ticket towards internal work. We have been existing in a construct. This is not a metaphor or an exaggeration. Earth as we know it has been what I term a purgatorial dumping ground. Earth is essentially a giant net that is here to catch our dualistic purges. Thus, we are displayed every aspect of consciousness that is opposite of our true divine nature. This is the only reason why this realm seems so backwards. It's not because evil reigns or because we are being held captive. Quite the contrary. All around us are beings who seem like us, but they are not of us. Many are awakening. This is headed towards the grand exit portal. But most remain asleep, unconscious, performing the same destructive patterns, actions, and emotions without a true desire to transmute themselves. This is because most of what we term the masses are not even real. I know, you might say, but I see people everywhere. I can talk to them, ask them about their pasts, so isn't it judgmental to write off the majority of people as soulless? No, it is not. This construct is designed for the game players. Those who are awakening actually have eternal forms that are sleeping, dreaming of this state, and I have many videos on this topic if you have not seen them yet. Those who aren't, quote, waking up, can't wake up because they're temporary consciousness a part of this overlay, akin to beings we project in our dreams, a mechanism of a sub and unconscious projection. Even though, yeah, in dreams you can talk to them, you can hang out with them, you might not even realize you're having a dream. There are a finite number of us, and the rest are simply empty shells acting as filler, just like any video game or movie. We inhabit similar looking avatars, but only a few contain true heart essence. We must have non-player characters, background people, to display to us everything that love is not, played out in culture, politics, in social dynamics, in art. The proclamations that people are so asleep, or why won't anybody realize what I'm realizing, are very important. The observation that you are expanding in a sea of consciousness that has no intention of expansion should tell you what is actually happening. You are a player in a temporary realm. Not only is the scenery, the cities, the landscapes temporary, but the people are also temporary. Without these filler characters around us, the game players would be the only ones in this construct, and the game couldn't be performed. If we are the main actors, the soulless beings are who we'd term the extras. Are extras important to movies? Yes, they are. They are more important than we think. A movie without extras wouldn't be believable. Likewise, this simulation of consciousness couldn't be sustained without non-player characters moving in the background, and even interacting with us in our day-to-day lives. These extras act out scripts to project our shadows onto external events and personal dramas, even playing out in our lives to teach us that which remains hidden within ourselves. This is where we get the idea that friends, family, neighbors, co-workers involve us in specific scenarios in order to help release what we aren't releasing ourselves. In these cases, the extras take on the roles of being great mirrors and reflections. After all, extras in a movie are there to support the main characters. These scripts can be personal, but they can also act out in mainstream current events. Everything is here to guide us into an inwards process of divine reclamation. It might not seem that way when we're stuck in the third dimensional perspective in which we think everything is based in master-slave think or oppressor-victim scenarios. But I implore you to have an open mind about this, an open heart to this. We call these beings artificial intelligence because they are akin to programs. They are not living sentient lives like the living souls. They are algorithms manifested in human form. This answers the question, why are so many stuck in patterns, can only give what sounds like programmed responses, can't think or live outside of the predestined box? It's like no matter what information many are exposed to, they're simply attached to the mainstream narratives in their specific sphere of influence. It's because they are temporary consciousness. They are what we would call soulless or non-player characters. They are dualism manifested.
I think he's an NPC.
A what? English, please.
A non-player character. He's part of the game. So anything we ask him, he only has his programmed series of responses.
NPCs are merely aspects of the game with a programmed consciousness designed to help the players. We are in a virtual reality of consciousness, and the binary schematic we've been trying to resolve is reflected back to us in full, in culture, in the unawakened masses. We've talked about this in prior videos. Duality is a binary type of consciousness. Good and evil is akin to ones and zeros. So we are collectively dreaming up this state in order to get rid of duality. And in order to get rid of something, it must be reflected in the external, as within, so without. So duality has projected this construct, and therefore the majority of people are built in with the same consciousness and are built in within the construct. Like the living souls exist outside the NPCs, they're a part of this dream state. I'm not saying that NPCs are evil or bad. That's not the point of this video. They come in all shapes and sizes. But ultimately the question is one going through a process of divine reclamation? And has one been going through this process? After all, that's what this experience is. That's what this construct is here for. It's here so we can resolve ourselves and go home. So if one has not been actively transforming through transmutation, then they are a non-player character.
What are they? Sentient programs. They can move in and out of any software still hardwired to their system. That means that anyone we haven't unplugged is potentially an agent. Inside the Matrix, they are everyone, and they are no one.
This may be difficult to digest. To say most people are dead would mean many of your loved ones, friends, family, teachers, favorite musicians are not organic forces like you thought, but are a part of a complex AI consciousness. A soulless being appears as full of life as anyone, but we're dealing not with a complete person as we think of on all levels. We're dealing with something that suggests a constructed reflex machine, which can mimic a true being. An organic portal can seem to have creative ideas, moments they hold dear to their heart, but at the end of the day, their function is to consent to and sustain the energy extraction matrix. Their AI software dictates that their life will be focused on material, monetary, personal, and fleshly interest. The 20th century Russian esoteric author Boris Maraviv wrote in his work Gnosis that there are two types of humans, Adamic man and pre-Adamic man. This is how he classified the organic portals, or soulless beings, and the living souls. Maraviv writes, "The scriptures contain more than one reference to the coexistence of these two humanities, which are now alike in form, but unlike in essence. The anthropoid race are the descendants of pre-Adamic humanity. The principal difference between contemporary pre-Adamic man and Adamic man, a difference which is not perceived by the senses, is that the former does not possess the developed higher centers that exist in the latter, which, although they have been cut off from his waking consciousness since the fall, offer him a real possibility of esoteric evolution. When we're in a dream at night, the environments and the people are all manifested through our unresolved inner that is playing out in a dream. That's what dream time is for at night. That which we haven't solved during the day, it ends up projecting outside of us. So sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's scary or disheartening. But when you wake up, the environments and even the characters in those dreams, they're nowhere to be found. So in a dream, your inner tension, turmoil, excitement, all of the polarity, the ones and zeros of your own consciousness, it manifests as people you can interact with. And unless we become lucid in the dream, we'll just accept that they are the same thing that we are, and there's really no separation. So you mentioned, this concept may feel as if I'm separating myself from others, because I always see others as a part of myself. And this is indeed what soulless consciousness is. It's not just another force that's here. Because we are a collective, the game players are separated in this game, because this is your purging process, this is my purging process. There's not a whole lot of us getting together in festivals and that kind of thing. It's because we require some filler, some non-player characters around us in order to help reflect to us parts of ourselves that we're releasing, or simply to give us experiences. This is not just a process of pain, it's also of pleasure. It's been both. And so the non-player characters of the Matrix have led us to where we are now, whether it's some people in our family, our friends, our coworkers, our neighbors, our teachers. And ultimately, these are expressions of the heart trying to resolve ourselves. Because remember, if we don't resolve ourselves, then it must play out outside of us. And it's not only going to play outside as current events and conflicts with others, but the other is going to be a manifestation of something that's unresolved. So the dream at night is very much like the waking dream. However, this waking dream is bound by time within matter. When one is in a dream, the characters appear real, but they are simply projected manifestations of an unresolved inner being, played out in order to process. We could say a dream's characters are background people on autopilot, and the lack of resolution of a certain aspect of one's mind is what is orchestrating them, unbeknownst to the dreamer while the dream is taking place. Veils are lifting, and we are seeing this situation for what it truly is, nothing more than a charade. We are the creation and the creator without a beginning or end. That's the paradox. But in order to have an experience of continuity which is comprehensible, we must separate things and put them into environments which can be interacted with. After all, if you were everything all at once in your perspective, this experience couldn't take place. Going back to the analogy of a dream, you aren't in the perspective of yourself and the characters, even though ultimately the characters are attached to your mind. The principle of as within, so without is simple. Everything unfolds from the inside out. All of our disharmony comes from not understanding this, that the output we experience is made of the same energetics as the input. What bubbles up within projects outwards always, even though it might appear with our five senses that the external is acting upon you and existed prior to that feeling or mode of thinking. So, every single time we have diverted from a unified state, experimenting with the fallacies of opposing emotions and perspectives that can never be resolved due to their polar nature-based intention, we have, in a sense, dumped that inverted expression of sovereignty into our environment. And this is exactly why the world, especially in its current state, seems to be running on autopilot, like a bunch of ones and zeros, like algorithms that have no true divine essence. Culture, entertainment, politics, social dynamics, all of these things are revealing themselves more and more to be nothing but illusions, figments, shadow projections. This is why the Metatronic overlay has not only been a zone for energy extraction, but that energy extraction is the result of us using this dream time as a dumping ground for the manifestations we would like to cleanse ourselves of. In order to do this, however, we've had to live out this torment. Of course, if we remain attached to the farce of linear progression, we will ask, but if I'm not actively conscious of these creations, then how can I be manifesting them? It's not like I'm pulling the strings of every interaction I have from both sides. Once again, creation and creator are tied in an infinite feedback loop. Therefore, the experience is felt as the creation unfolds, all while the creation appears to have been independent before that experience. The living souls embark on various timelines as experiments, and this was the ultimate experiment used to process the possibilities of terror, destruction, chaos, and fear. But we're not terror or fear or any of that. Our trueness lies in the wellspring of warmth, of infinite capacity for expansion. So it's not possible to contract. Therefore, we've projected an environment which contracts. We lost ourselves in the contraction, identifying it as simply human nature. Organic portals are reversed sentience, demonstrating itself through its own algorithm, which creates the appearance of people who are real, and they're just like those in your dream. Outside this holographic overlay, there's nothing of them, because again, this is extreme polarity being played out like a timeline, running all possibilities and combinations through the supercomputer of consciousness. You might say, okay, as within, so without. The inner is the outer. So how come I have woken up, I am aware that these manifestations are nothing but shadows, yet they still continue to express themselves in the macrocosmic situation? It is because this dualistic consciousness operates like machinery. And again, we have used this realm, this overlay, as a dumping ground in order to release these aspects of ourselves which we do not want to carry into the new realm, the new area of existence which we will be inhabiting. This reality is appearing more and more automated, not because we're the victims of imprisonment of some artificial computer system, but because we are waking up to the true essence. And when we realize who we are, we can't help but realize the machinery that we've purged all around us. So everything is operating according to the linear old world paradigm. But there is a further and further separation between our microcosmic reality and awakenings and the macrocosmic situation, which seems to be more automated. The biwave distortion fields of the vesica piscis illustrate this. We have been quarantined in the middle of dualism, observing it play out in our reality, the eternal essence and the AI essence. So we have two oversouls, the original oversoul, the true creative engine of the 0 point, and the secondary oversoul. But why would the secondary oversoul be akin to artificial intelligence? Well, if you invert our nature, what do you have? You have illusion. You cannot invert our nature. You cannot get rid of the 0 point. Of course, you can come up with a Metatronic overlay, try to imprison yourself unknowingly into a paradigm of seemingly pure evil. But because that idea of pure evil is only existent in this 3D Metatronic overlay, then the AI beings, the organic portals, are a part of the overlay. I could say the AI nature will be stripped away, but that's not the right explanation. They're not going to be stripped away because this experience has been the AI stripping itself out of the organic. This is like a cell splitting itself during mitosis, the same way we have split ourselves, allowing an AI consciousness to manifest. So what happens during mitosis? Well, the cell divides. I'll let you figure this out. The AI scripts here are very detailed. Why wouldn't they be? This is supposed to be a convincing prison sentence. So absolutely, when you walk up to people, when you interact with your coworkers, your friends, your family, there seems to be a sentience there. There seems to be complex pasts and preferences and personalities. And in a sense, they are real. I'm not saying you should discount anybody in your life. I'm not saying you should grow into hierarchical thinking due to this concept of soulless beings. But what I'm saying is, sooner or later, you will understand that there is a separation between what is true and what is inorganic. And the inorganic, while they may actually be helpful and benevolent and increase the capacity for you to become aware during this journey, ultimately all of the soulless beings are attached to indoctrination at some level. So we have lots of gates in society, and the organic portals tend to stop at the gates. And there's many gates. There's even gates in the truther community. You will see absolutely organic portals in the truther community because the algorithms play out in all facets of life. It's not only the mainstream. Soulless beings come in all shapes and sizes. This isn't a one-dimensional hive mind. This is a hive mind, but how it presents itself is varied. Behind the facade, though, you will find the same binary code which disallows further expansion.